There's just been so much death out there from fentanyl.
We wanted to waste that money to deny children services.
It's illegal, it's unsafe, and we would not tolerate it.
They lied, they falsified evidence.
Hello and welcome to the King 5 Investigators October Spotlight. I'm Susanna Frame. Here at King 5, we have the only full-time broadcast investigative unit in the region. And because of that, we're able to bring you in-depth journalism in the public interest on a regular basis every week. So we decided to bring you a monthly roundup of stories, journalism that consistently moves the needle, garnering results in our communities. And we begin with a story that showcases just that. Last year, we found that the Washington State Patrol abused its power by blaming a citizen for a crash that was actually caused by a trooper, and that story led to action. Here's King 5 investigator Chris Ingalls with the results.
On like the 25th floor of a hotel room, I could see the whole city. They put rooftop gardens everywhere. So you look out the window and it's green. I can't say it enough, but Hong Kong is a beautiful country.
Sean Fouch of Snohomish just returned from a dream vacation. His fortunes finally turned after 2 years of uncertainty and penny pinching.
I had to sell up my two motorcycles that I had. I had to actually, cut back on my diabetic medication and everything else.
That all changed upon the recent signing of this $1.3 million settlement with the Washington State Patrol. It's the end of a long ordeal that started on this stretch of Interstate 5 in August of 2022. Fouch was on his routine overnight run when this happened. His big rig collided with a State Patrol cruiser, which also had a dash cam rolling. Within hours of the crash, troopers saw video from Fouch's cab that showed the State Patrol vehicle cross several lanes of traffic into the path of his truck. Rookie Trooper Firawat Apposite would months later be admonished for his poor attempt to slow down traffic because of a hazard ahead.
You okay, buddy? Yeah.
Days after the accident, the State Patrol's own expert crash investigator determined the rookie trooper was at fault. He relayed that in a recorded phone call to Fouch's attorney.
I, in fact, went to the lieutenant and instructed them not to write a ticket here because once I heard that was going to happen, I kind of went to bat for your client.
Despite the mounting evidence, months after the crash, Fouch was cited with negligent driving, a potential career ender for a professional trucker.
Tell them that they pretty much tried to railroad me. They lied, they falsified evidence.
Fouch, injured in the crash, was unable to work as the case dragged on for months. Only after the King 5 investigators revealed the discrepancies did the State Patrol investigate and drop the case, admitting an injustice had been done.
One thing we learned is that King 5 was dead on with their reporting a year ago. Everything you reported was accurate. We were wrong, and we're sorry.
The State Patrol's internal investigation pinned most of the blame on veteran Sergeant T.J. Johnson, who retired instead of facing punishment. And newly released records show Johnson's lieutenant was also issued a reprimand for improper oversight of the case.
King 5 News broke the story and made them stop and go, oh, wait, now there's people looking at this. Maybe we should, take a step back.
There was one more thing that Fouch demanded as part of his $1 million settlement.
The money part of it is not, it's great, but it's not everything. I wanted more of an apology from them than anything else.
And he got that. A letter with Chief John Batiste's sincerest apologies for the harm to your reputation and good standing as a professional driver. Sean Fouch has recovered from his injuries. He hasn't decided yet whether he'll climb back behind the wheel of a big rig or try his hand at something else instead. In Seattle, Chris Ingalls, King 5 News.
We exposed other injustices in October. This month, we found in jails across the state of Washington, inmates with serious medical problems are being treated by staff who aren't qualified for the job. As King 5 investigator Taylor Mafendereski found, inmates and families say that's causing life-altering injuries and deaths.
They're flat bottom.
Javier Tapia of Tacoma says after getting out of prison 3 years ago, he cleaned up his act.
I've been doing pretty good.
After landing a stable job, he quickly got a promotion, and with the support of his family.
I got over 6 years of being clean and sober.
But for everything going well in his life as a free man,
I feel they still took some of my freedom from me, leaving me in this state. Being an amputee now, it's challenging to keep going.
In 2018, after stealing a car, Tapia went into the Pierce County Jail. During his 5-month stay, he says, bungled medical care left him with only one leg after a life-threatening infection when undiagnosed.
So I was just mistreated, like it shouldn't have happened to me and it shouldn't happen to anybody else.
Inmates are the only group of people in the country with the constitutional right to adequate health care. But the King 5 investigators found in multiple jails across Washington, they're being treated by unqualified medical staff.
Within Washington, I've seen it dozens of times.
According to government, medical, and federal court records, the practice has led to lifelong injuries and unnecessary deaths.
It's inappropriate because it's dangerous.
Dr. Mark Stern is the former top doctor for the state's prison system. Now he's a nationally renowned consultant helping Washington jails.
The patients that we see in our jails are the sickest patients in our community, the most complicated patients. It requires an analysis and evaluation by the person with the highest level of skill and training, a physician or a mid-level practitioner.
In multiple Washington jails, the company at the center of the controversy is a for-profit Alabama-based contractor, NAFCare. 7 county jails in the state are paying the company millions to run their medical units, including Pierce County, where Tapia's medical woes began. We found NAFCare has a history of allowing licensed practical nurses, LPNs, to make pivotal medical decisions by themselves, even though they don't have the training.
They're not qualified to do it. We run a high risk that they're going to come to the wrong conclusion, that they're going to miss something, and as a result, a patient could get sicker or die.
While registered nurses, RNs, have at least 4 years of schooling, LPNs have 1 to 2 years. State law mandates LPNs are to be directed and assist people above them. They are not to have an independent role.
The LPNs have a lot of independence here.
But in recruitment videos on NAFCare's website, the company seems to brag about how its LPNs work alone.
As an LPN, we get to do a variety of things like that we may typically not do.
It's illegal, it's unsafe, and we would not tolerate it if that's the care that we got when we went to our doctor's office.
NAFCare declined an interview, but in a statement, the company told us they're not breaking the law. Staff are required to stay within the scope of their medical licenses, and their staffing approach exceeds requirements to support the health of inmates.
I felt uncomfortable from day one.
Bridget Stixrud is a former NAFCare employee who worked for 3 years as a registered nurse at the Pierce County Jail.
There weren't a lot of checks and balances. The LPNs had to do work that an RN probably should be doing.
She says the company pressured LPNs to do daily assessments of patients with complex problems, and sometimes they served as gatekeepers, deciding which inmates were sick enough to see a doctor.
And so it felt unsafe in that way.
She says NAFCare was trying to save a buck.
And it made me feel like there were corners being cut because LPNs are cheaper.
And in federal lawsuits across the country, NAFCare has repeatedly been accused of the same thing, putting profits over people.
It was morally distressing. That's how I felt there, that people weren't getting the care that they needed.
Tapia's medical crisis happened at the same jail where Stixrud saw problems. As jail staff documented, his health was decompensating. Instead of sending a doctor, they sent an LPN who decided there wasn't any medical concern.
That's just a perfect example of like things getting missed because the right person wasn't assessing them.
Medical records show by the time a jail doctor weighed in, it was too late.
I had to do the surgery. If they didn't, it was life-threatening. How could this happen?
We found documented problems with NAFCare's practices, not just in Pierce County, but across the state. In Kitsap County, a 2022 jail audit raised concerns about LPNs making inmate medical decisions. In Spokane, a jury levied a $27 million verdict against NAFCare in a wrongful death lawsuit. And here at the Lewis County Jail, where Matthew Potter died in 2022 from a heart attack, a fatality review found if a more qualified provider would have treated him, Matthew's life may have been saved. An independent doctor advised instead of LPNs, Lewis County hire only more experienced providers. But NAFCare decided not to take action, writing they had no plans to change medical procedures.
That's what upsets me.
For Matthew's brother, Lucas Potter, it came as a shock.
They think they did everything right, and they have no plan of changing it.
As for Javier Tapia, he's suing Pierce County and NAFCARE in federal court.
I just want the right people to be accountable for what happened to me.
Pierce County and NAFCARE deny the allegations in the lawsuit. Court records show a NAFCARE leader applauded the jail's medical team, writing that while Tapia's mad about losing his leg, they did everything right, and he's lucky and alive thanks to them.
They saved my life, but it shouldn't have to go to that extent, and they get recognition for what a great job they did when they lacked diagnosing me.
In Tacoma, Taylor Muirfinder-Reski, King 5 News.
The King 5 investigators also bring you exclusive interviews, ones you won't see anywhere else. In October, we had an exclusive interview with a member of the Lummi Nation after the DOJ shut down a drug ring suspected of bringing lethal fentanyl onto the reservation. King 5 investigator Kristen Goodwillie has the story.
I hope that they get all the fentanyl off the streets and off the reservation so that we can stop burying our people.
It's been 1 year since Joe Morris of the Lummi Nation had to bury his brother Lindy after a fentanyl overdose. Lindy was one of 4 deadly overdoses in just 4 straight days in 2023, causing the Lummi Nation to declare a state of emergency. In the federal indictment made public yesterday, the DOJ says a major pipeline of drugs to the reservation came from a fentanyl ring they brought down this month.
I do feel some relief. There's just been so much death out there from fentanyl. It's like, when is it ever going to stop? And, you know, when are people going to start being held accountable?
Federal records describe the fentanyl ring as a massive conspiracy, a well-oiled operation spanning 5 states that was a major regional supplier of fentanyl into Washington state. In recent months, agents seized multiple firearms, including an AK variant from the defendants' homes. They also found evidence of high-flying lifestyles, Rolexes, diamonds, cash, and gold chains. But according to documents, the biggest hauls were drugs, much of it disguised for transport in crude containers like protein powder cartons and hollowed-out tires. Here's a partial list of confiscated drugs. More than 800,000 fentanyl pills, 14.5 pounds of fentanyl powder, 17 pounds of cocaine, and 7 pounds of meth.
This callous drug trafficking organization stands accused of distributing quantities of fentanyl great enough to potentially kill nearly 1 million people, which would fill Lumen Field more than 15 times over.
Federal investigators say 2 brothers run the organization, Marquis and Markel Jackson. But it's their mom's alleged involvement, well-known Seattle activist Marty Jackson, that's surprising the region's advocacy community.
Killed his organs in.
Marty has been prominently featured on King 5 over and over again. Up until her indictment, Marty ran a program with the Boys and Girls Club that focused on reducing gun violence for teens.
Be a part of the solution and not the problem.
According to federal documents, Marty helped the drug organization launder their money using her account as pass-through. Now the city of Seattle is working with the Boys and Girls Club to figure out if their funds were inappropriately used.
I guess I'm amazed that they're finally starting to hold people accountable for their actions.
Joe Morris says this year without his brother has been devastating, but he is moving forward and just adopted Lindy's son, Bryson.
This is my nephew, Bryson, right here.
Who popped on our Zoom interview today.
I took him in to, hopefully give him a better life, and that's what I'm hoping that I'll be able to do.
He believes this indictment is the beginning of recovery for the Lummi Nation.
Definitely gives some people hope.
I found out that the alleged drug operating ring has impacted the Lummi Nation in another way. 3 tribal members have been arrested for dealing drugs on the reservation. I'm Kristen Goodwillie, King 5 News.
We have another results-oriented story for you now. Last month, we reported on alleged misconduct by a security officer at the Green Hills School. That's the state's largest juvenile detention center. As a result, that employee is now behind bars. Chris Ingalls has the update.
State of Washington versus Michelle Goodman, 24-1-670-21. She's present in custody.
Former Green Hill security guard Michelle Goodman appeared in Lewis County Superior Court late this afternoon. Court documents accuse her of custodial sexual misconduct for videotaped sex acts with a 23-year-old inmate at the institution. Police in Chehalis, where Green Hill is located, launched an investigation October 2nd after King 5 reported on this lawsuit filed against the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF. The suit showed screenshots from the inmate's cell phone and claimed that Goodman encouraged the young man to videotape their sexual encounters. Months before that suit was filed, Goodman was already in the Lewis County Jail on unrelated criminal charges. She was charged with prison riot for allegedly looking the other way when an inmate beat up a gang rival in a housing unit. Now she also faces the sexual misconduct charge and was arrested again last night.
There is a culture, from my understanding, of Green Hill School just sweeping things underneath the rug.
Tacoma attorney Patrick Brown filed the sexual misconduct lawsuit earlier this month. According to charging documents, Brown provided Chehalis police with 10 photographs, screenshots of at least 3 different videotaped sexual encounters with Brown's client. Police also reviewed Green Hill security video showing Goodman going into the staff locker room with the inmate where the sex allegedly occurred.
Staff know that nothing's going to happen, and so they just kind of capitalize on that. And they know that there's not going to be any type of repercussion, so they just do what they want to do. And so there's this culture at Green Hill School to where sexual abuse is tolerated and allowed.
Days after our October 2nd story about the Goodman lawsuit, DCYF announced in a transition update that Green Hill superintendent is stepping down. And King 5 reported yesterday that Ross Hunter, the embattled secretary of DCYF, revealed that he would be leaving his post soon.
Finally, this month we exposed a Washington state school district is accused of ignoring students with life-threatening medical conditions. Because of that, we found in the last 2 years, 3 families have taken legal action against the Clover Park School District in Lakewood. Hey! This is 13-year-old Bella Pastor of Lakewood. Her dad, Anthony, is a staff sergeant in the Army. Ade Galvan just turned 6. Her dad is in the military as well, as an Air Force tech sergeant. Both of these girls were born with life-threatening conditions that require 24/7 care with a nurse. That's why their families are based at Joint Base Lewis McChord, to be close to first-class care at Madigan Army Medical Center. The parents assumed they'd find the same high quality from the school district serving military families, Clover Park in Lakewood. So you had high hopes for the Northwest and Clover Park.
Absolutely.
But the families say their children have had to fight for their lives and for an education, saying the district has failed them miserably. In legal filings, they accuse Clover Park of threatening them, ignoring them, and refusing to provide the girls with an education, treatment they say is rooted in discrimination based on the girls' extreme disabilities.
Our experience with Clover Park School District has been dehumanizing. They don't treat her like a child entitled to an education.
It feels like Bella was treated as less deserving.
Hey, Bella.
That because she has special education needs and disabilities, she has less value.
Federal and state laws require school districts to provide children with disabilities a free and appropriate education. For Ade and Bella, the parents say that needs to happen at home. Several Army doctors agree the girls are too medically fragile to go to school. Madigan doctors wrote common illnesses of childhood can become life-threatening for them and that a homebound school option is necessary. Between the two cases, 22 medical professionals, including doctors here at Children's Hospital, weighed in, saying for their safety, the girls needed to receive services inside their homes. But the district had a different idea. They wrote over and over the girls needed to come to school to get an education. In Bella's case, the district gave an ultimatum. If you don't come to school, we'll enroll you in online learning. But for her, that wasn't an option. Bella is legally blind. Is there any way the Clover Park School District didn't know that Bella could not attend online?
They knew.
They knew.
They knew.
That
was surprising to me.
Special education attorney Carrie Feeney represents both families.
I haven't experienced a school district that simply said, we will decide what is best for your child, regardless of whether the medical community agrees with us.
We know best.
We know best.
Clover Park declined to be interviewed, but in court documents, they defended their actions, saying the district has been ready, willing, and able to serve the students at school, and that it's not Clover Park's fault, but the parents who interfered with the district's efforts.
We have the most beautiful soul sitting at home waiting to go to school, and she is being denied her rights. She's being denied her education.
She has thoughts. She has feelings. She's a 13-year-old girl. She deserves just as much as every other kid out there.
While the district wasn't spending money on services for the girls, they were writing checks to lawyers. District legal bills show to fight Bella's family, they spent $185,000 on a portion of the legal fees in that case alone.
Instead of choosing to spend all that money to give these children services that they need, you wanted to waste that money to deny children services.
Audie and Bella have both been to school before when they were healthier, and they both progressed.
I'm glad you came too.
For example, they both learned to use a communication device.
Hi.
But medical reports show without school services, they've both regressed. A painful realization for the families trying to give their girls the best life possible in whatever time they have left.
The hardest part of this journey is knowing that our time with her is limited and that she could die before she accesses the education that she is entitled to. It is morally wrong, it is ethically wrong, it is legally wrong, and the worst part is that they know it is wrong and they don't care.
We have important updates to bring you now on both of these cases. Recently, a judge ruled the Clover Park School District violated Bella's rights to an education and ordered the district to bring services into her home. And 3 days after we called the district to tell them about this story, they offered a settlement agreement to Audie's family. Now, she too will be receiving services in the home. And that's it for the King 5 Investigators October Spotlight. We'll be back next month with more investigations. In the meantime, if you have a tip for us, email us at investigators@king5.com, or you can scan the code on your screen. I'm Susanna Frame. For all the King 5 Investigators, thanks for watching.